Kim, this morning I was at the YMCA here in Charlotte, and the wall in front of the machine that I was on for about 20 minutes was just covered with scripture, and it was kind of neat. So here I am just trudging along for 20 minutes, and I'm meditating on scripture, and the one that was right in front of me was something that I have read 1,000 times, but I think in light of the conversation we've had about God encounter, it just hit me a new way this morning. It was this scripture: for God does not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love, a spirit of power,
yeah,
and a sound mind.
Awesome. You know, it's been interesting as I've traveled the country asking questions of congregations that have experienced some sort of change. One of the questions we've talked about are, what were the obstacles to change within your congregation? And almost every interview talked about some sort of fear, whether it was a fear of losing people, or a fear of failure, or a fear of money not being there, or even a fear of success. It's been fascinating.
Churches can become very anxious places.
Yes, and so many places in the Gospels we hear, "Do not be afraid. I am with you." You know, and now you told us about a spirit of power and of love and a sound mind, clear thinking, that helps us to get to that. And you know, when I ask about the obstacles, I always ask about how they're overcome. And most often, good prayer, listening to those who express fear, helping them to understand God's desires, God's purpose for the congregation, have truly helped them to overcome the sense of fear that showed up in that congregation.
You know, it's interesting, in the work we've done with Readiness 360, we discovered that the number one thing that can help to create cultural openness in a congregation, which is a minimizing of my fear of neighbor, of my fear of that person who's different, my fear of the person my mother didn't want me to play with when I was growing up.
Right.
The number one way that you come at that is to strengthen spiritual practice. So basically, God encounter is what helps to mitigate fear.
Exactly. In the midst of overcoming fear, it's always fascinating how much deeper and richer the spiritual life of the congregation becomes as they learn to rely on God, to depend on God, to continue to encounter God at every step. And in a lot of ways, the outcome of changing fear into power is a sense of call and a sense of connection to God that is very real and very powerful, and does the work of opening the congregation up to new people, to new practices. It's a very powerful thing.
We were very intentional as we looked at the 10 strategies to put the strategy about God encounter on the front end. This is, too many churches get in the business of getting in a fuss over whether there will be guitars, or
color of the carpet,
or the color of the carpet, or when will the fellowship hour be on Sunday morning.
Right.
You know, and if we haven't dealt with the spiritual foundation, we're probably not ready to deal in carpet color.
Right. Exactly. So, significant God encounter is a gospel strategy for
changing the game.
And Jesus highlighted this every time he escaped to the mountain to pray.